Hello, I'm Bahram Ghaffar, and here are today's top headlines. President Shavkat Mirziyoyev discussed the performance of the oil and gas industry. The Heritage Foundation announced a report about United States strategy for Central Asia following Michael Pompeo's visit to Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan held a presentation of the project in the footsteps of the 101st compatriot. President Shavkat Mirziyoyev held a meeting to discuss the performance of oil and gas industry and the current year's challenges to increase the production of natural gas and liquid hydrocarbons. He pointed out the measures to be implemented in the oil and gas sector this year. Mirziyoyev also underlined systematic problems persist despite the created conditions, which have a negative impact on the development of other industries.
Shavkat Mirziyoyev pointed out to insufficient work on the modernization of enterprises, high losses and frequent interruptions in the delivery of gas. The Minister of Energy was entrusted with producing 4.3 billion cubic meters of natural gas this year, which is more than in 2018, in order to provide the economy and the population with fuel. Instructions were given to reduce technological losses and production costs. The head of state noted the need to involve international consulting companies in the activities of the Project Office for the Reform of the Oil and Gas sector, linking the salary of business leaders with key performance indicators. He instructed to implement anti-corruption compliance control in all enterprises. Uzbekneftgaz was instructed to critically analyze the state of each field and ensure that gas production increases. The meeting also considered the phase of construction of a plant for the production of synthetic liquid fuel on the basis of the Shurtan gas chemical complex. Tasks were given for the implementation of digital field systems, automated economic management and resource accounting at the enterprises of the industry.
Our colleagues from Voice of America have prepared a report about the United States strategy for Central Asia called Advancing Sovereignty and Economic Prosperity. The event was organized by Heritage Foundation. The discussions also include the outcome of U.S. Secretary Michael Pompeo's visit to Central Asian countries. Speakers at the meeting praised Uzbekistan's reforms in the field of media freedom, religious freedom and eradicating forced labor, and etc. And the new strategy was worked out based on these achievements. According to Luke Coffey, director of Heritage Foundation, since Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan are considered to be the heart of Central Asia, their role is huge and Washington should pay particular attention to these countries. So in the next report, you'll be able to get information about opinion of White House officials.
When you look at a map, the Central Asian republics are right in the heart of the Eurasian landmass. And by definition, really, anything that's at the heart of something is important. And we're starting to wake up to this, I think, in Washington, D.C., more and more. When you look at all the challenges and opportunities that are in this one region alone that America is facing, whether it's a resurgent Russia, an emboldened China, in Iran increasing its reach outside of its borders, energy issues, energy security issues facing Europe, obviously Afghanistan, or look at some of the opportunities with trade and promoting economic freedom and good governance. Central Asia is a region that we cannot afford to ignore.
Lisa Curtis, Senior Director for South and Central Asia at White House, said that time has come for the U.S. to update their approach in division to the Central Asian region. In her opinion, the threat from extremism has been reduced, but the Chinese influence is growing. This, on the one hand, is a challenge, and on the other is a good opportunity to strengthen regional cooperation. She also pointed out the continuing robust of Russian influence.
So recognizing that important shifts have occurred in the region in the last several years, we decided it was time to update our approach and vision to this vital region. Some of the changes that have brought us new challenges as well as opportunities include shifts in leadership dynamics that have given rise to new opportunities for intra-regional cooperation, renewed threats from extremist ideologies and terrorist organizations, namely the impact of the ISIS phenomena, the foreign fighter phenomena, and then repatriating those foreign fighters to their home countries. That presents challenges as well as opportunities. Third is the deepening Chinese influence in the region, which also presents some challenges as well as opportunities. Fourthly, we see opportunities for Central Asia to support our Afghanistan peace efforts. But also, many things remain the same in the region. And here we can point to continued robust Russian influence in all spheres, political, economic, military, with all of the countries.
For many years, Uzbekistan's policy was based on shifting cooperation from one economic giant to another, which, according to experts, from point of view geographic location, is much better than choosing one and denying another. In the meantime, Michael Pompeo, during his visit in Uzbekistan, said he welcomes competition from such rivals as China and Russia, unless this competition is based on transparency and not politically motivated, underlining that the US is a good neighbor for Uzbekistan.
When American companies come to places like Uzbekistan, we show up, we create jobs for local people, we obey the local rules, we don't pollute their neighborhood, we're good citizens, we're good neighbors. American companies, American investments are the response to this country's demand for independence and sovereignty. And so we'll do that. We remind them constantly that when other nations come to participate in these countries, if they'll participate by those same set of rules of transparency and openness, doing real market transactions, not state-sponsored, politically driven transactions, we welcome that competition anywhere in the world. And we're confident, even from our discussions today, I leave here more confident.
Our next report is about the presentation of project in the footsteps of 101st compatriot. Under the hashtag 75th anniversary of victory, expeditions are set to be held in the Netherlands, Germany, Poland, Belarus and Russian Federation. The goal is to create a database of Uzbek soldiers who contribute to the victory in the Second World War.
The project will be implemented in 2 stages. At the first stage, which will last from February 6 to February 16, the working group will study names of places, witnesses of event and other information on the route of scientific expedition. We want to create a database of soldiers buried in German cities of Berlin and Stuttgart. It's necessary to collect all the surviving documents that are now scattered around the world. In addition, there is a symbolic grave of Sabir Rahimov in Polish city of Gdansk. In Poland, not everyone is given such a grave. Also, as a part of the project, we're going to visit Auschwitz concentration camp. Plans also include a visit to Piskarevsky Cemetery in St. Petersburg, where 1,450 Uzbek soldiers are buried. The project is expected to organize an awarding of the journalists Remco Rading and the city of Amersfoort.
The first deputy of the Senate of Oliy Majlis, Sadik Safoev, received a delegation from Singapore under the leadership of Senior State Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Po Kun. The meeting discussed the promising areas of trade, economic, cultural, as well as humanitarian cooperation and issues of further development of bilateral relations.
Po Kun gave a high assessment to the reforms carried out in Uzbekistan under the leadership of President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. The parties noted the need to implement joint projects to improve the skills of personnel in the field of trade, tourism, medicine, education and management.
We had a good discussion with the Deputy Chairman of the Senate on how we can build stronger bilateral relations between Singapore and Uzbekistan. There are areas in which we can share mutual understanding and learn from each other. One area which we discussed specifically is in the area of capacity building and sharing Singapore's experience with officials from Uzbekistan. And this is an area that we are prepared to support. We also look forward to re-establishment of direct air flights between Uzbek airlines into Singapore. So that will provide an opportunity for strengthening people-to-people ties and promote tourism to this very interesting country of Uzbekistan.
In addition, the parties noted their interest in intensifying mutual visits of parliamentary delegations.
Uzbekistan's agriculture has demand for 80,000 units of equipment. Therefore, in 2020, it's planned to produce 165% more machinery than in the previous year. In addition, it's planned to introduce digital technologies in agriculture using unmanned air vehicles. This was the topic of discussion of the International Press Club session.
According to the statistics, the share of agriculture in Uzbekistan's GDP reaches $22.7 billion. The attendees of the press club discussed such topics as agricultural development and applications of the science-based approach to increase the number of clusters. Minister of Agriculture Jamshid Khodjayev elaborated on the issue of discounting the practice of state orders in the industry. Shifting away from the practice of state order means that we need to begin the transformation of agriculture. Now, instead of being concerned about the issue of hitting the targets and fulfilling the plans, the farms and hoikimiats will be focused more on providing services to entities, be it a farmer or a cluster organization. The session also discussed the issue of localization of agricultural machinery production. It was emphasized that in the current year, supply of the agricultural sector with modern machinery reached 45%. We will establish the production of foundry equipment, which is extremely important for agriculture, and the system for the relevant treatment of parts, as well as the production of wheels and discs for tractors and internal transmission mechanisms. This year it is planned to deliver 11,000 units of agricultural equipment for a total amount of about 2.7 trillion soms. The growth rate will be 65% compared to the last year. Alongside with that, the speakers referred to the introduction of digital technologies in agriculture. In 2020, water-saving technologies will be used for irrigation of a 250,000 hectare area. Reportedly, there are 4,250,000 hectares of irrigated land in the Republic. By the end of 2023, some 3,200,000 hectares will be occupied by clusters. According to the estimates, by 2030, the number of water sources will be reduced by 20-25%. Water-saving technologies will have to be introduced. The session also spoke about the protection of plants from various diseases and pests to enhance agricultural productivity. Besides, special attention will be paid to supporting farmers, which implies radical change in the ministry's system of work.
The final round of national contest 100 Best Innovation Projects of Uzbek Women was held in Tashkent. The event included exhibition that displayed various events, layouts and innovation products of talented women and the Women Inventors 2020 Forum.
Over 4,000 women scientists, researchers, talented students, young inventors and the representatives of various professions took part in the first round of contest, where they presented their projects covering such areas as science, education, creativity, entrepreneurship, and also software products. Some 250 women are participating in the final round, of which 100 Best Innovation Projects authors will be selected. The national contest, 100 Best Innovation Projects of Uzbek Women, is being held for the third time. The final round of the contest will continue until 7th February.
The revised version of regulations on the procedure for performing military service by citizens of Uzbekistan was discussed at the meeting held in Tashkent. Reportedly, the document was modified by 80% in the view of persistent problems that impeded the effective performance of military service.
The prestige of military service has been growing gradually, and these are not mere words. If in the past many individuals attempt to evade the draft, today, in the contrary, many want to join the armed forces and devote themselves to the national service. In turn, the current regulations indicate the need to attract energetic, intellectually mature and patriotic young people to join the army. As noted at the meeting, the country has a well-equipped army today, and the government pays great attention to the strengthening of social protection of military personnel, such as raising salaries, improving housing conditions, providing medical and material benefits, as well as accrued pension for the tenure of service. At the same time, new types of army ranks of sergeants have been introduced, which will encourage motivation and professional development of military personnel. It's believed that the new document would help to minimize and resolve many problems arising in the process of military service. In particular, it will bring transparency in the recruitment process and staff appointments. And as noted, these are effective measures to improve the combat readiness of military servicemen.
A Chinese newborn has been diagnosed with a new coronavirus 36 hours after the birth, the youngest confirmed case so far, official media reported. The baby was born on February 2nd in Wuhan, the epicenter of the virus, from a mother who tested positive for the virus before giving birth. It's not confirmed if the disease was transmitted in the womb or after the birth, doctors said. Scores of Russians were under 2 weeks of quarantine in a camp in Siberia on Thursday after being flown home from China's Wuhan, the city at the epicenter of coronavirus outbreak. A video and photograph from Vladimir Markov, one of those in quarantine who lived in Wuhan for 3 months, showed a snippet of the life at the camp. Russia last week reported its first 2 cases of coronavirus, both in Siberia and both involving Chinese nationals. No infection was detected among the 2 groups of 144 returnees, including 60 nationals of ex-Soviet countries who returned back to Tumen Airport on Wednesday in 2 military planes, the defense minister said. All arrivals are being quarantined for 2 weeks in a camp some 19 miles outside Tumen, said Russia's chief medical officer Anna Popova. The camp is fenced, equipped with CCTV cameras and guarded by military patrols, the crisis center said.
So far, this has been all the news we intended to share with you today. Stand by. News.